Syriac church was so prominent back in the day, and it doesn't get much attention today, even though it was one of the larger branches of Christianity. And so because it was that, we have a wide range of usefulness in Syriac. What got me into it was when I was studying the New Testament, a lot of times I'd just done Greek so long, I sort of had the picture of like a Greek Jesus, and then when I started learning Syriac and really getting into it and reading the New Testament in Syriac, it really influenced just sort of how I pictured Jesus, because now instead of Greek, you see a lot more like Aramaic Jesus kind of come up. And that was really helpful for my perspective on the life of Jesus, on what he did, on who he was and how he spoke. So you have that in New Testament studies. There's also textual criticism is probably where it's mostly used today, because you have a witness from like the Eastern branch of Christianity. And so while we have a lot of Greek manuscripts, and then going up into Latin sort of in the Western part, then if you have like a Western witness combined with an Eastern witness where they agree, generally you can make a strong case for, this probably has a common origin of transmission, and it's very useful for that. And in the Old Testament also, you have a very early cognate language, and it's easier to do. It's easier to compare Hebrew and Syriac together in terms of textual criticism or things like that, because they're the same language family. So you get that side as well with the Old Testament, and then with church history, there's a rich tradition in Syriac that oftentimes gets overlooked, and it's it can be very different from how the Western tradition is, and so it's helpful in that it opens up those doors to so many different church fathers and their writings and how they thought. And so it really covers really the basic three of the Old Testament, New Testament, and also just the rich liturgical and church fathers commentaries and things like that get covered. So it's a pretty useful language. It covers a vast array of disciplines, even though it doesn't get much attention usually. So with this book, I wrote it sort of as a way to say, well, we'll assume they're not even familiar with Hebrew or Greek or any of the biblical languages. And then so starting with that foundation, sort of build the whole book based off of that. The one thing that makes it somewhat unique is that, like the other biblical or Basics of Biblical series, is I really tried to get the reader into the text as quickly as we could. And so there's a lot of, there'll be like some vocabulary lessons or some translations that we have that they make it, there'll be a lot of footnotes that come in. So, okay, you might not know this word, but here it is. But the most important thing was that right from the get-go, after chapters 1 or 2, you're in the text, you're reading the text, you're trying to get as familiar as you can with actually translating the Bible or, the New Testament from the very, very beginning. So that sort of is what makes it unique. There's other things in there that are not necessarily, from a Syriac perspective, that are sort of, they might be kind of new. I tried to mix the texts of the older text, the Estrangela text, with the Western vowel pointing, which Western is usually easier, and it's also what most Bible softwares use. So that also, while that might be a little bit odd from a Syriac standpoint, for a biblical studies standpoint, it really, I think it'll be beneficial to the student, because if you pull up any number of Bible programs, that's generally the text that you're going to see. And so all of those really kind of combine to make it a unique book, trying to be friendly to the student. It doesn't take that long to explain a lot of the concepts in there that kind of get bypassed. And so taking time with those things, and at the same time trying to get into the text and make it as readable and useful as possible, really sort of lay the foundation for what I was trying to accomplish with the book.